Welcome to the House of Muscle Tuning Show in association with CarCraft Magazine. In this multi-part mini-series, we'll be updating my 1972 Chevrolet Monte Carlo with the goal of creating a fantastic old-school freeway flyer. To do this, we'll be utilizing some parts from names like GM Performance, Holley, Gearstar Performance Transmissions, MagnaFlow, and more. So come along for the ride as we transform my old Monte into the ultimate old-school daily driver. Welcome to day 5 of our 1972 Monte Carlo build in conjunction with CarCraft Magazine. I want to give you a quick rundown of where we were as opposed to where we are. Now remember, my daily driver, 157,000 miles on the clock. The Tired 350 is now out, and in its place is a Chevrolet Performance SP383. The motor made about 446 horsepower and 450 pound-feet of torque when put on the dyno at Westech. Now, aside from the motor, we also put in a 204R from Gearstar Transmissions. It's a stage 4 unit, replaces the Turbo 350, didn't have to cut anything, and it's fantastic. At least I know it will be. We also redid the rear end. We put in new axles, a Detroit True Track, and a couple of other bits and bobs. Now, we haven't touched the brakes, and we haven't touched the suspension or the body, and that might be at a later date. We'll see. But for right now, that's where we were. This is where we are. Stay tuned for another great episode. When you look under the hood right now, I mean, there is no hood, but when you look in there, it actually looks like it's going to run. I mean, everything is connected, AC's hooked up, pulleys are hooked up, still have to do the clutch fan, and still have to put fluid in the radiator, but the exhaust is done, gas tank is in, transcooler lines are in. We're really close. So, yeah, that's it. I wanted to give you guys a quick update. We're gonna put some fluids in this thing, click on the Holley Sniper, turn the key, make sure the electrics are good, and then, well, fire it up and see what happens. This is exciting. We're gonna put a couple of gallons of gas in this thing, turn the key, see what happens, knock on wood if it fires right up, then we're gonna check for leaks and a whole bunch of other stuff. And we still have to do more work. We have to put the clutch fan on, a couple of other things, but this is the point that you wanna get to, so fingers crossed. All right, John, do it, turn it.
Done.
We've got power.
Look at that.
This is good. This is like Christmas. It's like Christmas morning. Adult style. Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Actually sounds pretty solid.
Dude, that's amazing.
It sounds way better than it used to, for sure.
Without tailpipes.
Without, yeah, no, doesn't even have tailpipes on it.
It's not that loud.
No, it lit right off.
We just started the car. It's amazing. It ran. It sounds great. That doesn't mean it's over. We still have stuff to do. We still have to install the fan shrouds. We have to check all the fluids before we can take this car out and do anything with it. The starting is just the culmination of the work that we put into the car this week, but we are not done. There's still time and effort that we have to put into it. But the fact that we're at this point is fantastic. So we're gonna do some fine tuning on it and check a whole bunch of stuff, and we will get back to you shortly. That fine-tuning included doing things like adjusting the new EFI system, setting the timing, and refitting some bits and bobs like the clutch fan, the world's biggest fan shroud, and putting some heat wrap on the starter, and then tidying up the engine bay to the point where it looked factory again. So the car's almost done, and Ben was kind enough to do the final branding on the back. This is cool. Now anyone that sees this will actually know that this is actually the House of Muscle Monte, which is pretty slick. Not terrible. And with the Monte finally running, it was time for the moment of truth, the initial test drive. The car's done. That's amazing to me. right? So there's a couple little things we have to button up, but like, we're driving this thing. 4 days ago, this car had a whip 350. It was tired, you know, and now it's just amazing. Whoa!
You want to be careful. It's a little.
Oh my God! A little more pep than we used to.
It's got a little power in it.
A little more oomph.
It's got a little power in it.
So that's the other thing, right? We've got more than double what we made out of the old motor. More than double the power of the old engine. So like, I'm just breathing on the throttle. I'm not doing anything because we still have to. We want to make sure nothing leaks or whatnot. But like, again, amazing. And the other cool part is like, I thought this was going to be louder. I'm loving the fact that it's this quality. We put a MagnaFlow exhaust in here, a 2.5 inch system. I think this sounds great. Well, that was great. So we just took it out for the preliminary test drive, and it's amazing. It's not good, it's amazing, right? So like, we get on, and you know, we set the throttle position cable on the transmission, and just took it down the road, and then we jumped up on the highway with it, and it's like, it's so different. It's a new car, and now the personality is so different, and I haven't even gone past 8th throttle, but like, up on the highway, we got it up to 80 miles an hour on the highway. It's not even spinning 2,500 RPM. So what we're gonna do now is we're just gonna we're gonna throw it up on a lift, we're gonna check any clamps and hoses, check for leaks and stuff like that. Then we're gonna put the hood back on, and then we're just gonna go drive. So we put the car up in the air, no leaks. Honestly, I have never seen a car, we've worked on a whole bunch over the years and whatnot, where you hook the exhaust up, headers, just gaskets, engine, transmission, the whole deal, right? And everything works. There are no leaks. There's no ticking from an exhaust gasket. Starts immediately. It just sits and idles perfectly. I know that right now you might think that I'm not excited, but I am. Because now we're going to get to go out and really drive this thing. We are headed to the dyno. So after a week of thrashing on this car, we want to see how much horsepower it's going to make. So we're headed up to Sonoma Raceway to the dyno where we original dynoed this car with the old 350 in it, and we're going to see what it does. Now, keep in mind that with the old motor, we made 162 horsepower and 228 pound-feet of torque. That's actually not that terrible when you think about it. For a motor with 160,000 miles on it, it is terrible because the motor burned plugs every 500 miles. That was a pain in the ass. We are in the car right now. I mean, it really is. This is the first drive away from Ben's shop at Jack Dick Customs, and so far so good. I mean, there's a couple of things that we have to adjust. Like, we've got a little exhaust rattle. There is the throttle pedal is unbelievably hard. It's really kind of tough to modulate and stuff like that. These are all bugs that you're going to find in any type of new build, which really is what this car is. But I'm really, really proud that we got stuff to work. I mean, like, the Holley EFI functions beautifully. The Gearstar 204R transmission, it shifts wonderfully. SP383 under the hood, man. It's like, this sucker was dynoed at 446 horsepower and 450 pound-feet of torque. So, like, you roll like a car it goes. And it's created such a difference than what the car was before that, you'd hit the throttle and the car would be like, I'm just gonna, no. And that's what it would do. I mean, if you guys go back and you watch the original episode, our first episode of the House of Muscle on Motor Trend On Demand, we tried to do a burnout in this thing, and the car was just like, I'm not having any part of that. Not only would it not do a burnout, but it was just plain embarrassing. Now, this thing will rip the tires off. All right, so the dyno's closed. We missed it, which means you guys are gonna have to tune in next time on the House of Muscle.
And this is where things go south. You see, not long after we finished the Monte Carlo, a car that truly did turn out to be the best old school daily I have ever driven, it was stolen. It was stolen out in front of my home, and unfortunately, it has yet to be found. There were a lot of people involved in this build, people aside from Ben and Colin, who wanted to see this car driven, and it kills me to know that whomever is behind the wheel of it right now is not one of us. So here's to keeping our fingers crossed in the hopes that the world's greatest 1972 Monte Carlo will eventually be found. And big thanks to those who pitched in to help. GM Performance, Gearstar Performance Transmissions, MagnaFlow Exhaust, Holley, and more. Thanks for watching. Before you go, make sure to subscribe to the House of Muscle channel by clicking below, and we'll make sure you never miss a new episode of the House of Muscle.